So you've guys seen R5 and R6 reviews, and then people are talking about the new A7S III potentially being announced. So should you get the camera and listen to what everyone has to say or not get these cameras? Let's talk about it. My name is Magnus. If you're new to my channel, I talk about camera news, tech, hacks, all that other stuff, and do a lot of camera tests on my channel. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing to stay up to date on the latest and greatest and basically my opinion and everything I have to say. So the nitty-gritty of this conversation, and this is just going to be an off-the-cuff conversation that I want to have with you guys, and I'm going to use the R5 and R6 as the main talking points, but this talking point includes any camera that would be announced at any time, because this happens to almost every type of camera that's announced, and this includes the new Z5 that was announced by Nikon and the anticipated A7S III. That's not the official name. We don't know the official name yet, but that's what we think it's going to be, announced by Sony next week. But getting to the nitty-gritty, let's talk about the Canon R5 and R6. Now, there have been plenty of reviews that have been listed on YouTube, and some larger YouTubers that talk about cameras getting their hands on the camera early so that they can test it full throttle and everything. But what you're going to see right now, and I've talked about this in previous videos before, you're going to see a lot of reviewers telling you all the great features, not really getting too in-depth with the camera, because a lot of these guys had pre-production cameras. They're only allowed to say so much in order for Canon even to send them a pre-production camera. So they have rules to follow, and that should be understood. But Canon also did send these cameras, the R5 and R6, to a lot of YouTubers, and I'm assuming it's going to be a little bit more test and give your honest opinion about these cameras. But from that perspective, I don't think that there has been enough time out there to really put these cameras through their paces. And unfortunately, given our current situation, it's kind of hard to have events or sports events or other different types of events that usually these cameras would be used for, whether from a filmmaking perspective or picture taking perspective. Although wildlife is always out there, so that makes it a little bit easier, at least in those situations. But one thing that really gets to me is when a reviewer or even someone such as myself would say,
the EOS R5 and why I'm not pre-ordering it, and I don't think you should either.
And why you need to upgrade to the R5.
That really gets to me, because fortunately we don't all live the same lives, nor do we have the same exact needs. So I, as a filmmaker, can tell you, me personally, I will use the 8K, but very scarcely. I don't have enough CF Express cards to even make use of 8K for any long amount of time in any video, nor is it practical for me to do so. But there might be moments where I might use the 8K, but that's me. I can't then tell you, don't get this camera because the 8K, you're never going to use it. Nor any production company is ever going to use the 8K, because if you had the money, you're going to film with more expensive cameras. We're all different in this world. We're all different and our needs are different. If I say that I'm not going to use 8K, that's me. If I say that I'm going to film in 4K 120p all my vlogs, never turn it off, and I'm upset that the overheating issue is going to happen, well then that's my situation. Should I then tell you, don't get this camera, it's not going to work for me, so it's not going to work for you? That's ridiculous. To me, that's ridiculous. And I can, even if I say, well, if you're an event videographer, this camera is going to work for you because your events, you're going to film mostly in 1080 and you don't need 4K at a higher bit rate. So you'll do fine with 4K at its lower bit rate that won't overheat the camera or anything like that. No, that we're all filmed different. We like to do different things. I'll give you an example. This is a YouTube video. You're watching a YouTube video. And in the YouTube videos, I was told many times the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K and 6K are not cameras for YouTube. They're used for cinematography. But I have filmed a large number of my recent videos using the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K as the main camera. A lot of my skit videos with Mikey are done with the BMPCC 4K, minus a few when I had to actually get the camera fixed. That camera is great when I know what restrictions I'm working with and what it actually does well. And what it does well is I love the image that I get off of the camera, which is a great image. And for these talking segments where I'm not moving much, I work around it. The Samsung NX1. You'd hear, don't get this camera. First of all, it's hard to find, but you'd hear probably don't get this camera because Samsung no longer makes cameras, whatnot. I've been using this camera for so many years now, and I don't regret it. And if I bought it yesterday, I'd be using it because of what it does well. It does 4K well. It does a really efficient codec that has lasted and will continue to last. I'm actually filming a documentary. Most of my footage, because I'm getting a lot, is in 4K, and most of that footage is with this camera, if not all. There's some that I got with the Blackmagic, but mostly with this. Not the Canons, not the Panasonic GH5, and even not the Blackmagic. It's mostly done with the NX1 because luckily with this documentary that I'm filming, I have time to set my settings properly. But what I need, because I'm getting so much footage, is a high quality, efficient codec. And that's what I'm getting off of the NX1. But I would be told if I listen to just YouTube, that's not a camera you should get, except me, of course, because I tend to promote that camera all the time. But it's these odd situations that I'm running into that I use these odd cameras that have their limitations, but they work for what I need them for. But they work for me because I know the limitations and I know what I want. I pre-ordered the R5. I'm going to get the R5. My birthday is the release date of the R5. So if you know the release date, you know my birthday. And the fact that that's the same time I think is awesome. And I hope that my pre-order justifies me getting it on time, meaning if I get it in time, I'll get it like shortly after my birthday. That is awesome because that means that I have another tool. But will the R5 be the tool that solves them all? Maybe, maybe not. I have to give it a chance and see what happens. The point is, use them as tools, but only you know whether you'd like the camera or not. Now, when I get the camera, my reviews are a little bit different from what you're going to find in other YouTubers. They'll tell you the pros and cons, and they'll look at the camera and say, yeah, it does this well, this well, this well, this doesn't do well. You should get the camera if you like this, this, and this. No, I don't do that. I put these cameras through their paces. Now, when I had the 1DX Mark III, I had it for a very short time, so there was very little I could do with it. But if you know my channel, you know I've had the GH5, Blackmagic, 5D Mark IV, 6D, NX1, all these cameras, it's almost like I never stopped testing. I actually released a test, or I'm planning to release a test shortly. I've got in my queue a sensor comparison with the 5D, well, all those cameras I just listed. And I'll continue to do so. So my reviews for the R5 are going to continue. And if you like specific things, you'll be able to see them thoroughly, not only tested, but compared to other cameras. Why? Because I think it's important to constantly push these cameras. And with new firmware updates, the review would change. And I constantly push what I can do and what I can show you guys when it comes to the features that you can get out of the R5. Not just it overheats, because quite honestly, fine, it's a limitation that many cameras exhibit. It is the limitation that you'll see in this camera, but I'm going to put it through its tests and compare it to my other cameras, because there will be times where the R5 will be the camera to use, specifically for me. That doesn't mean it'll work for you, or maybe it does. I'm not going to tell you to buy that camera. I'm just going to show you how it works. And I think that's what you really need to listen to. Not for somebody who tells you, here's why you shouldn't buy the camera, or here's why you should. You need to listen to what they talk about and try to get the best overall assessment as to why the camera would work for you in particular. I can't tell you that. Only you can. Anyway, that's my rant. That's my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And as always, you can make my day if you subscribe today. And speaking of subscriptions, they help me a lot. And when I say you'll make my day if you subscribe, I really mean it. Every time someone subscribes, it does so much for me, so much for this channel, and helping this channel grow, hitting the like button, subscribing. I mean, you may pass this by, watch this video, and if you got this far, thank you. You may watch this video and think, hey, well, this was cool. If you like this, please subscribe, because I'm trying to be relevant. And the more relevant I get, the more these camera companies will be able to see my channel and say, hey, you know what? Test this out for your audience. And then I can deliver more for you. It's not just watching, it's actually hitting that button does a lot. So again, if you subscribe, totally helps me and all of us out. Anyway, that's all I got to say. Take care, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.